The 2022 TC America, powered by the Skip Barber Racing School season, concludes this weekend on the hallowed grounds of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 2 weeks ago in Sebring, Kevin Bohm wrapped up the TC Class Championship, but titles in both TCX and TCA remain hotly contested as we head into the final two races of the campaign. Hello everyone and welcome to the corner of 16th and Georgetown, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. My name is Ryan Marine, Calvin Fish is alongside, and Amanda Busick is down in the pit lane for us as we head into the penultimate race of the 2022 TC America powered by the Skip Barber Racing School Championship season. Let's introduce you to the starting grid. On pole, making his first start this season, Chris Walsh. Impressive performance to grab the pole ahead of the championship leader, Jacob Ruud, who has a 30-point edge in the TCX battle. He'll start second. Brett Scroggin and Lucas Catania, 5 times a runner-up this season. He starts fourth. Garrett Adams, fifth. Colin Garrett, second in points. A 30-point hole to climb out of, and he starts back in the 6th spot. Steve Strymer and Olivia Askew make up row number 4, and Joseph Catania at the back of the TCX grid. In the TC field, Kevin Bohm, the series champion-elect. He starts on the class pole. Ken Fukuda, career best start for him. He'll start alongside Clay Williams, second in the championship. He starts in third with Brazilian stock car veteran Celso Neto next to him. Jeff Rica, who turned 40 years old yesterday. Happy birthday, Jeff. He'll start fifth. Matt Ibrahim, a career best second in race 1 at Sebring last time out, starts alongside. And wrapping up the TC field, Joey Jordan and Chris Valdez, and Carl Hertel making his series debut. Then in TCA, what a championship battle it is. Carter Fartuck will start on the pole. He is tied on points for the championship lead. PJ Gronke in the Mini starts next to him. Gresham Wagner tied on points for the lead in the class. He starts third for Tech Sport, his teammate Devin Anderson next to him. Christian Pericarpi, 5th in the championship. He's got a shot at 4th. He will start in the 5th spot alongside Brandon Tyner, who was runner-up in both races at Sebring. Sally McNulty and the Chinese driver Xiaoyi Che in the next row. Starting in 9th, Bruce Marine, a winner of a 10-hour Enduro here at IMS in 2020. In the 9th spot, Tyler Delgado will start 10th. Colin Harrison and Louis Pericarpi, team owner of the Mini team, rounding out the field. Great field as ever. Calvin, 3 classes about to go for a 40-minute sprint to the checkers at the Brickyard.
Yeah, and what different conditions to the last event that we had at Sebring just a couple of weeks ago. It was ambience in the 90s, there's low 50s here today. A beautiful day, racetrack is in superb shape. Time should be really fast, and lots on the line. We talked about Kevin Bohm wrapping up the TC title, but for the TCX leader, Jacob Ruud, he starts from the front row. Colin Garrett, after sweeping at Sebring, narrowed that gap down to 30, but he's got some work to do. He's got to finish in front of Jacob Ruud here to keep the championship open going into tomorrow. And the big story is, of course, in TC, with 2 guys tied on the championship lead with Carter Fartuck and Gresham Wagner. They line up behind each other on the grid. Everything to play for there.
TCA, it's going to be a dogfight, that's for sure, as we get set to go green at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You talk about that battle in TCX, though. 30 points the difference coming in. Only 25 points on offer tomorrow for the final race of the season. So Colin Garrett knows he needs to be within that window. 25 points or closer to have a chance.
Yes, so he's got to get in front of him, and he sits 2 rows back. So a lot will depend on the start. If everyone can get through these first few corners there cleanly. It's pretty tight through that first sector. Let's see how it shakes out here once we get to green.
First time series pole sitter Chris Walsh, who only has 2 previous starts in TCX going back to last year. A great story we'll talk more about throughout the broadcast, but he's not been in this position very much in his young racing career. He's coming to the Art of Bricks looking for the green flag that will start this second-to-last race of the 2022 season. And it flies down the front straight away they come. The TCX field with the TC field about to take its start just behind. A great start by Walsh. 3 wide for second further back.
That looks like as Lucas Catania, right side of the screen. Oh, big squeeze there as it funnels down into the apex for turn 2.
Here come the TC cars. Both the pole sitter gets away, and behind him, Clay Williams, who's been his closest competition for the bulk of the season in that TC Spec Mini. He runs in the 2nd spot, having grabbed it away from Ken Fukuda. The bump drafting has already begun down the straightaway at IMS for the TCA cars. They thunder their way down to the tight hairpin of turn 1.
Paddock there trying to maintain that lead position, had the pole, but here we see up front, what a start for this man. Chris Walsh on his debut, grabs the pole, looks really confident here on this opening lap.
Yes, he does. He is out in front and taking control halfway around the first time. This 2.44 mile, 14 turn layout, slightly different layout that was utilized 1 year ago for this event. It's exactly the same as was used for the first of the touring car events held here back in 2020. Chris Walsh with that early advantage. Back to TC we go. One of the DRS Garagistic cars off track. I believe that is Ibrahim as Jeff Ricca slips ahead.
Yeah, I think that was Ricca and Ibrahim there. Very much in a battle for third in the point standings. Only 3 points separate those two cars, so this will be a fierce battle all weekend long, I feel, to get that final podium spot for the championship.
Ricca working his way to the outside. This is the south short chute of the oval. It forms turn 12 of the road course. Ricca in the Hyundai alongside Ibrahim in the BMW, which is running its final 2 races in SRO competition this weekend. And it is tight between the two side by side as they head up onto the front straightaway. Joey Jordan in the Cork Sport Mazda right there hot on their heels.
That was really tight there in turn 13 as Ibrahim tried to slot back in. Nearly touched there. Keeps it clean. 26 cars around. That's Lucas Catania. Had a great start up to P2 early.
Oh, and problems here. That's Jacob Ruud. That's the defending champion, and he's got some serious damage to the left front. That is exactly what Colin Garrett was hoping to see.
See how this develops here. Into the brake zone. Oh, he got around the leader there. Got a great run, did Walsh, and somehow Jacob Ruud was wrapped up in that as well.
He caught the back of the 51 car that just checked up. That was Scroggin.
Yeah.
To avoid the contact. Now this becomes a question. Is this something that you can live with, or is there a tire rub? We go full course yellow.
Yeah, he's got to pit. He's going to have to come. The yellow may save him a little bit.
Oh, that is not good news for Jacob Ruud. He had a massive points lead going into Sebring. It was not the Sebring weekend he was hoping for 2 weeks ago, but still came in with a healthy 30-point advantage. But Cal, we talked about it then. Anything can happen. Here this is why we've gone to the yellow. Contact here between a Honda and a Hyundai.
780 in the 33 machine, so that's McNulty and Delgado there, deep in the TCA pack.
Wow, what a frantic start. And look at the debris field there. That is the 7, 8, 9, 10 complex where that contact occurred. And that Delgado car certainly nursing some damage.
I'm surprised Ruud didn't pit, because I think they do a TCX class split before we go back to racing. So he should have been able to get into the pit lane, see if they can tear some of that bodywork away, because I can't see that left front surviving another 35 minutes here.
You're exactly right, and that very scenario is what saved the day for him when he had a similar issue early at Watkins Glen at one of the races earlier this season. They came in and made repairs, caught a yellow, and thanks to that class split, was able to catch back up to the tail of the field, and he salvaged what are looking like crucial points that day. Still time, though, to come in here, depending on the length of this yellow, and not lose out too much other than the track position.
I think that was the last 5-10 minutes of the race. You just want to try and hang on, but at this stage of the game, it's a lot of this race left, and you know, he would still line up in the top 10 overall and at the tail end of the TCX pack with a healthy car if they can get it fixed. So big pivotal moment here in the championship, as you said, coming into this race with a 30-point lead over Colin Garrett, and if he maintains track position over him, that's enough to seal the deal, but big doubts as to whether that car is healthy right now.
It was a dream start from Colin Garrett in many respects, up a couple of spots now into third. Meanwhile, his championship rival has hit trouble in the early going. And then in that TCA championship battle, Gresham Wagner has dropped a number of spots. He's all the way down to 6th in class, while Carter Fartuck leads the way. So that is a big development there. Those two tied on points coming into this race. The tiebreaker would be race wins. Gresham Wagner had the edge there, so Carter Fartuck knew he needed to take advantage of a good race car here this weekend, and he seems to have one.
Yeah, I mean, for Gresham Wagner, they're celebrating a new sponsor on board. TCL Television joins that group here this weekend, so that's great news for them. They hope to celebrate with a nice strong run here today. Qualifying, I think they'd been a little bit surprised. It seems like the Hondas really run well when the cooler conditions are here for them to enjoy. So I think that may have been a factor in the performance, because Carter Fardock really hasn't had the pace of late to really go for those poles or race wins.
I think you're right. You look at the heat of the summer, and the results haven't been there the way that they were earlier in the season. So Mother Nature perhaps giving a reprieve in some respects to this car, which is the first of its generation. There are only 3 in the world of this new Honda Civic Si that you see racing here. He's driving one. Sally McNulty has the other. The other is a test mule, and he's been giving it a great run all season long, has Carter Fardock for the Skip Barber Racing School team.
There's that damage. Looking at that, you can see that tire has got a severe rub, and its speed down the straightaways, it's just going to force that back and continue to dig into that front Pirelli tire. So big decisions to be made here.
I understand not wanting to give up track position here, but that tire rub is ominous. Second place right now, just ahead of Garrett, and he knows that's the man chasing him. Tough decisions to be made, but that is a lot to risk with a tire rub and still 30 minutes of this race to go.
Yeah, critical decisions, because if it suddenly goes down and he's limping it back to pit lane, could easily go down best part of a lap. There we see the damage to the 22, cut down that right front, right down to the rim, as you can see, has been tearing its way through the racetrack.
That's Devin Anderson, son of the team owner Kevin Anderson. It's been a good season for Devin. He and Christian Pericarpi have a good battle going for 4th and 5th in points. Let's look at this again. This is what set off a lot of the chaos within the TCA field. That's Delgado there we saw picking up that damage.
A lot of debris there, still offline. Driver's left, as you can see there on the exit of that corner.
PJ Gronke appears to have had an issue too. Remember, he started on the outside of the front row, and he's shown back in 11th.
Here comes
and here's
Rude.
Rude. Yep.
Well, I think they're going to be safe. I mean, if this was a quick yellow, I mean, I think this decision is a lap too late. So we'll see what damage we can see once he hits his pit box here.
The saving grace may be there are still safety vehicles out on the track, and it does not look like a green flag is imminent. So this should give them time, hopefully, to repair this damage, catch back up with the field, get that class split, and then, by virtue of that, end up right there on the back of the TCX field coming to the restart. But this promotes Colin Garrett to 2nd, and it makes that margin for error here for Jacob Rude that little bit smaller. This is exactly what Colin Garrett was hoping for today.
And you got to go 70% to score points. So first factor is get the car back out there, but you need the car to be safe. You don't need him to suddenly cut down a tire, spear it into the fence, and be stationary for the rest of this race and score 0 points. So damage limitation in more ways than one.
This is a really good team. Fast Track Racing, formerly Classic BMW, same squad, new name. You see a lot of fluid coming out of that car.
They got a big issue going on here.
If there's a team in this paddock that's up for the challenge, it's this one, but this is a tall task. They know what's at stake. As it stands, Garrett would pick up 18 points. Obviously, we're a long way from this being done, but 18 points for 2nd. And now maybe it becomes a case of just making sure you get out there enough to get to the 70% mark and try to score a couple of points to have as much of a margin as possible going into the finale tomorrow. Yeah,
last place points would pay 2 points. There's 9 car field in TCX, so if you're the last of those, it would be a couple, but that could be significant come tomorrow. So for Colin Garrett now sitting in 2nd, that would be a massive swing, 18 points potentially out of that 30-point lead, cutting it down to 12. Let's see how this one develops.
This is the initial start. Chris Walsh on pole, and it funnels down into turn 1. We've seen a lot of accidents in various series in that corner over the years.
Lucas Catania had a brilliant start there, and then later on he was making a move to the outside. This is the TC start with Kevin Boehm getting the jump. Williams up to 2nd early around Fukuda.
Yeah, it was a great start for Clay. Also, Joey Jordan in the blue Mazda has done a good job to make his way forward, runs 7th in the class. This is the TCA field. And PJ Gronke is in the red Mini that has shuffled to the back of the TCA field. Not sure why that would be. Didn't see it there. Looks like the safety car is off, though, with just over 10 minutes gone, 29 minutes remaining. About to go back to green, and the championship leader in TCX is in the pit lane. The man chasing him in points runs second behind Chris Walsh, who is making his series debut on the season, at least, here this weekend. So that's a fascinating battle up at the front. It's side by side back for third and fourth and fifth. As the classic, the fast track racing crew continues their work in the pit lane. We're back to green at Indy.
Yeah, curious to see if Lucas Catania's car is healthy. He's been very fast here in the opening lap, so see if he can cut back through this field. So now Walsh is feeling the pressure from our championship contender, Colin Garrett, there in the 44 machine. And there's a huge delta between first and second in the points. It's a 7-point swing for Garrett. He needs to try and grab those here today with Rude in trouble.
But Calvin, let's remember, if you make your debut in the final 2 weekends of the season, you are invisible for points per the regulations. So Garrett actually doesn't need to make this pass. He would get first place points by virtue of the fact that Walsh has not run a race prior to this weekend.
Awesome catch. I wonder if they know that. I mean, there's one thing if you think, oh, there's 7 points, carrot dangling in front of you versus just sitting there, finishing second on the road, but grabbing first place points.
Yeah, they are in exactly the right spot, and if they know that, that's a great piece of information for Colin Garrett to have, to not force the issue, not take any undue risk.
For Jacob Rude, that will give him an extra couple of points as well.
That is true.
But he's got to get back out there. He's got to do 70% of this race to even be eligible to score points here today. And it looks like there's a lot of work to do on his BMW. Really felt that they missed earlier.
Lost valuable time behind the safety car. No question about that. Hopefully that car is repairable. Looks like PJ Gronke is still running. He's made his way up through the field. Passes here since the restart, running right in front of his teammate, Bruce Marine, who's making his series debut.
Proud son sitting beside me, watching his progress here today. It's pretty cool, Ryan.
It sure is. Here's Carter Fartuck. This is exactly what he was hoping for today as well. Tied on points coming in, out in front, and doing what he needs to do to build that advantage. That said, Gresham Wagner still mired a little bit further back. Here he is doing battle.
I think he just got up to second. He came across the line there in fourth, but I think he's made some moves here, and now he's up to second.
Oh, man, this is shaping up to be good because those two basically know we need to finish ahead of one another to make any ground in the points. They've been great sparring partners all season long. Fartuck in the Honda, Wagner in the Subaru.
China coming off a couple of strong runner-up finishes at Sebring, so that Hyundai has really come on strong here in the late going.
More on the story. Our points leader in TCX in the pit lane, Amanda.
Well, I do expect to see this hood go down on this BMW quite shortly. They were able to replace the side radiator on the BMW. I was talking to Toby Grahovic just a little bit, and he said we're about ready to head back out. So imagine Jacob is calming himself down inside of that cockpit and ready to see if he can get this championship done.
Thanks for the update. Battle for the lead is on. Garrett got the run out of turn 14, heading down the front straightaway. Who will be the last of the late breakers? Chris Walsh, awfully impressive. He carries it in deep, rolls that speed around the outside, and he will hold on to the lead here. And that opens the door for Garrett Adams to go on the attack.
Wow. Very difficult scenario here for Colin Garrett. He came across the stripe there with the lead, but he's obviously lost that down into that break zone. And he's got pressure from behind, with Garrett Adams going to be pushing hard. He's looking for a victory here. He doesn't really care about the championship scenarios. He's out for himself right now, as is Chris Walsh there, who now leads once again aboard that STR38 machine, as you said, on debut. Tremendous opportunity for this team to come in and make a splash, led by John Miller. Kind of like a satellite operation from the ST Racing program that runs in our Fanatec GT Championship.
Exactly right. They've got big plans on Pirelli GT4 America next year, perhaps in the TC ranks too. This operation based out of Orange County in California, whereas the main ST Racing team, at least for now, still based up in Canada, although I understand they're looking for a different home base perhaps in the future. But yeah, great debut here from Chris Walsh, who's a great story. Active duty Air Force member, and a longtime motorsports enthusiast. He said he fell in love with F1 as a kid. I asked him who his favorite driver was. When he said Schumacher, I wasn't surprised. When he said Ralph Schumacher, that did catch me a little bit off guard.
Yeah, certainly Ralph had a stunning career as well, but not quite to the level and extent as his brother, the legend. Our thoughts were with him, of course. His severe injuries suffered a few years ago skiing, but what a legend he was behind the wheel.
And here at Indianapolis, too. His record on the U.S. Grand Prix here was absolutely stellar. But for Chris, this is a fulfillment of a lifelong dream. He's got eyes on being a full season competitor next year in some capacity with that STR 38 team. That would be Kevin Boehm out in front of the TC field. Carter Fartuck in TCA.
Wagner has kind of escaped from that little battle that he was involved in. So from a poor initial start, Wagner's kind of regrouped here a little bit, got his head down, focusing forward. As you can see, he's gapped Tyner and Pericarpi, who sit behind him. And now he's just got to try and see if he can catch, because this is so important here.
Well, look, he's got the pace. That last lap alone, he was a full second faster than Carter Fartuck in the Honda. So that Tech Sports Subaru is absolutely charging. Gresham Wagner, last year's MX5 Cup champion, had a chance at going 2 for 2 and came up just a little bit short at Road Atlanta last weekend, but looking to put that behind him. Oh, good battle shaping up here. This is Christian Pericarpi looking for one more spot.
Yeah, great little battle here between the two youngsters. This is awesome stuff.
Brandon Tyner is his quarry. Brandon had a great weekend at Sebring with a couple runner-up results.
The Honda has really come on well this year. Great customer racing program that they put together. Pericarpi's working him over, just trying to figure out the puzzle here, these little switchback corners, and how the gear ratios I really find is so important, Ryan, when you're coming through corners like this. If you're in the sweet spot, or whether you're kind of in between gears, as we call it, whereas, you know, too quick for a lower gear, not quick enough for the taller gear to really get into the torque setting that you're looking for.
Change in the lead in TCX. Colin Garrett has gone to the point. He didn't need it from a points perspective because of the rule we talked about earlier with Chris Walsh just now joining the championship here this season, but he wants that win. He's out in front. Meanwhile, his championship rival, Jacob Rude, languishing well down the order. This is shaping up to be a huge day for the former stock car driver, Colin Garrett.
Well, it could mean that if he wins tomorrow, there's nothing that Jacob Rude can do about it. So that's how tenuous that points lead has now become here, with Rude having issues here in the early going.
Walsh has slipped back to the second spot. Former U.S. bobsled team member Chris Walsh, another part of his really interesting story. Didn't make the Beijing Games, but certainly knows a lot of those folks as we check in here on a intra-team duel. Bruce Marine and Louis Pericarpi right there, just behind Colin Harrison, who made the pass that last lap for the 7th spot.
Was really quick initially out of the box yesterday in practice, and he said that was a little bit of a shock to the system when he got out there in the cool conditions this morning on the sticker tires, but I think he's enjoying this opportunity just to get into a rhythm of a race here, follow people around. He knows the track well, as you mentioned, Ryan. He's been a winner here before. Too many Indy winners in this field. He's one of them.
He's got the team owner right behind, Louis Pericarpi. Great to have him hopping behind the wheel of one of these minis. He's been campaigning these things forever. In multiple championships, he's made a home here in the TC America Championship in recent years. It's a real affinity for the brand, for the sport, and a lot of minis off-road racing exploits. That's really up Lewis's alley. He's an avid fan of rallying, and specifically events like the Dakar Rally, which he has an aspiration to compete in one day.
Sure, that's peeling in the pit lane. The Honda.
Looks like Christian Pericarpi did make the move on Brandon Tyner. That's for 3rd. And the final podium spot in TCA. Back to the TCX battle. This is good stuff, as Walsh is under a great deal of pressure right now, having dropped a couple of spots.
Yeah, Adams has gotten around him now, so Walsh maybe, and he's into the pit lane, so he's got some kind of issue going on here. If there's a cut down tire or something more amiss from a technical standpoint.
Dream debut going somewhat awry here. Just past the halfway mark, Walsh makes his way into the pit lane, having started on the pole position.
Garrett's lead up front is stretched to just over 2 seconds over Garrett Adams. Lucas Catania has really done a nice job of getting back through this field. He's got some pace in that car this weekend. He's had 5 runner-up finishes this year. Just remarkable, his consistency. 10 podiums he's put together on the season out of 12 races. Incredible.
No doubt. Looking for the win. This is Rude. We mentioned his issues early. If you just joined us, right after the drop of the initial green flag, there was a spin. Everyone checked up, nowhere for Jacob Rude to go, and he suffered some serious damage, punctured a radiator, and has cost him dearly his championship lead that he came in with. 30 points has all but evaporated. This is another look at it from earlier in the race.
Catania goes around the outside of Walsh. They get stacked up. Catania goes for a spin, and then suddenly Jacob Rude just nails Scroggin there, and that's where the damage came from on his left front.
So the mission now for Jacob Rude is, one, hope to take advantage of any attrition. Unfortunately, Walsh falling out potentially doesn't affect anything because he's invisible for points here this weekend. But at least make it to that 70% mark in order to score points. 70% of race distance. You have to reach that threshold to be eligible for points. Oh, this is for the lead and the championship lead in TCA. Wagner trying to make it work around the outside of Carter Fartuck.
He has erased that gap in a hurry. He's got a fast car underneath him. Carter Fartuck is really feeling the pressure right now, and he knows the big picture of this as well as any of us. These two tied right now and almost tied together in this race as well. Who's going to have the advantage going into Championship Sunday?
Carter came in here 1 year ago with a shot at the championship, ultimately had to settle for 3rd place, but now fighting for his championship life with his closest rival, Gresham Wagner, even on points here through this stage of the season. Wagner right behind him with 17 minutes to go.
And what's significant is Wagner has the tiebreaker as well. If they were to share the spoils here this weekend with a win and a runner-up finish apiece, Wagner would get it on the tiebreaker. He's won 6 races this year to 3 for Carter Fartuck.
Nip and tuck between these two. Fartuck will guard the inside line here on the run down into turn 1. A 5/8 of a mile straightaway at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and the Subaru has the ponies around the outside. Gresham Wagner grabs the lead in TCA.
Wow, just beautifully judged there. You could see he had a little bit of an advantage at the back end of the straightaway, but now Carter Fartuck comes back at him. That could just be the torque of that Honda there coming into play through this tight, twisty stuff. Flat out through this section, you can see the amount of curbs you can use. There's no track limits in place. You come off that chicane.
Whatever the problem for Walsh, it has been resolved. You can see him. He's back out on the track, making his way past this battle for the lead. Wagner feeling the pressure, having just taken the lead away from Fartuck. He'll guard the inside. Fartuck looking to do the crossover move, but Wagner has that car well positioned and parries the thrust.
Fartuck just looked a little bit quicker through this twisty stuff. It's just that very end of the front straightaway where Gresham Wagner seems to have the advantage in what we've seen so far, but obviously we'll see this picture evolve a little bit here over the next couple of laps to see the ebb and flow of the performance of these two cars around this circuit.
It does look like PJ Gronke has dropped out of this race. Disappointment for the Canadian, who has been fast all weekend long. Started on the outside of the front row within the TCA field. Now we watch in. Can Fartuck keep the pace? He's trying to hang there with Gresham Wagner because everything rests on this duel between these two. Not just for the race win, but for the series title.
Wow. That is a monster lap for Gresham Wagner to grab that lead, and you can see right now he is stretching it big time over Carter Fartuck with 15 minutes to go in this race.
Carter, not just a driver for the Skip Barber Racing School team, he's an instructor for the school. And when a number of NASCAR drivers, some 30 NASCAR drivers, elected to go through the Skip Barber School to help hone their road racing skills over the last few years, Carter was heavily involved in coaching them up, struck up a friendship with Noah Gragson, one of the hottest drivers in the Xfinity Series as of late, winner of 4 of the last 5 races in that championship. And Carter has been coaching him on the road races all season long. In fact, he was trying to get to the Charlotte Roval tomorrow. TC America is off tomorrow to coach Noah there. Felt like it was too big of a risk to his championship hopes here this weekend, but that is how highly this young man is regarded, that a guy who's actually filling in for Alex Bowman in the Cup race this weekend relies very heavily on his coaching, especially going over a lot of the data that pours off those next-gen Cup cars.
Yeah, these cars don't run here tomorrow, so there was the opportunity, but that would be massive risk with travel and stuff just to be able to get back here and make sure you can be in for the shout here for the championship title on Sunday, which is definitely going to go down to, it looks like.
Now running right there in the tire tracks. Wagner got by, but he's not been able to pull out a huge advantage. Amanda, what are you hearing from the Tech Sport team about Gresham Wagner?
Well, we were over here for that reaction when Gresham Wagner took over Carter Fartuck, and I was talking to his team he's normally pretty focused and quiet on his radio, but was very animated on that overtake, knowing how much that meant, especially in this championship hunt. But I talked to his team about what has impressed them about about Gresham this year, and he said just the transition from MX-5 into this class and how quickly he's been able to adapt in his performance, in a championship performance at that. So as you can see, the team was very happy with that overtake as we watch the rest of this race out.
He's quite a story and has used that Mazda MX-5 platform as a training ground, still active in MX-5 Cup as mentioned, had a chance at the championship last weekend in Road Atlanta, came up a little bit short, and looking to atone for that with the TCA championship, and he's in position to at least grab the points lead for the first time in several months.
Yeah, and looking at the gap, it doesn't seem to be consistent in terms of where both those cars are gaining an advantage, so I still really haven't seen a rhythm to that in terms of where the cars may be stronger over one another.
Lucas Catania, by the way, has recovered from that spin earlier in the race and now runs up in the second spot, and Lucas is no stranger to that step of the podium. He would dearly love to do one better after standing on the podium so many times, but still seeking that first win.
Yeah, and Scroggins really quick. Scroggins there sitting in the 4th position, has laid down the fastest lap of this race. Nice young man, really learning the trade here in TCX this year. He's coached by Tony Kester, who's a bit of a legend on the data side, and working with young drivers, so they got all of the tools in place. But P4 is the strongest run yet this year. He's looking for his first podium.
Catania in the white BMW. Adams right behind. He runs 2nd and 3rd, but 5 seconds behind Colin Garrett, who is having a dream day. When he went to bed last night, this is about the best scenario he could have even conceived of, to be out in front and to have Rude strike trouble right off the bat.
More than you could really dream about, right? I mean, he was just hoping to keep it tight, beat him in the race today, maybe grab the win, which would be a minimum of a 7-point swing and keep under that 25-point mark, but it's going to be massive. And I think potentially set up a day for tomorrow where if he wins, there may be nothing that Jacob Rude can do about it.
This is the champion-elect. The one championship that's been settled is the TC class, and Kevin Bohm wrapped that up at Sebring. He was 2nd in the TC championship 1 year ago. 2 years ago, the TCA class champion, and he already has clinched that crown for 2022 and has dominated this race to this point. He's another one that said these cool temperatures are exactly what I was hoping to see when I looked at the forecast.
He would be dreaming about the temperatures here, that is for sure. And his lap time in qualifying was sensational. A pole lap of 136.7. The pole overall was only a 135.5. So he was in amongst the TCX cars there in qualifying here this morning.
Yeah, remarkable stuff. And Jeff Rika, who I mentioned earlier, turned 40 yesterday. I walked by their garage in Gasoline Alley here at IMS. They had a big happy 40th banner up in the garage, and I checked, and sure enough, October 6th is the birthday for Jeff Rika, who's running a very strong 2nd. It's been a nice charge through the field for Jeff here today, and he holds a substantial lead, as we'll check that margin here in a moment, over Matt Ibrahim, who's giving this BMW another strong run after really impressing in Sebring a couple weeks back.
Yeah, and that's significant for Jeff because we mentioned earlier, has a 3-point lead over Ibrahim in the championship standing. Sits in P3 right now, and this will extend that, maybe make the task a little bit easier for tomorrow or for Sunday, excuse me, to hold on to it.
Celso Neto runs in the 4th spot. That and is for position within that class.
This is turn 12. Pretty deep brake zone there. You can see the subtleties of the racetrack. There's a little bit of nuance to it. It's not completely flat as you come through that sector. But then you really have to set up to get through turn 14 without any tire scrub or certainly imbalance in the car as you get later into the tire stint.
There's Christian Pericarpi. This is a special event for him, as it is for any native Hoosier. Lives just down the road near Brownsburg, Indiana, just west of here. It's where this LAP Motorsports team is based. Had a chance to race here on home turf last year, part of his partial schedule. And that car, I think, has been through the wars. I see a few donuts on the left door of that machine. That's touring car racing for you. We might see some more before it's all said and done, because he has just run down Brandon Tyner for the final step of the podium.
Yeah, Tyner's been on a roll of late. A couple of podiums at Sebring and a couple of top fives at Road America, so they've really developed this car nicely. Brandon is feeling it, getting some confidence now. So a super little battle here for the final podium spot of the day.
Day versus Mini coming up onto the front straightaway at Indy.
It's like a dynamo run down here. Also, aero efficiency will play a part in the straight line speed as well. But it looks like the Hyundai stretches the Mini a little bit midway down the straight, and then it looks like the Mini's coming back at him a little bit later in the going.
Overall leader Colin Garrett coming through. Well, that opened the door for Pericarpi to follow him through. Tyner chops the nose a little bit, catches that curb with the trailing wheels. Pericarpi has been the quicker of the two over the past few laps, but only marginally so. And especially with this layout, running the chicane instead of the loop that we ran last year, it is difficult to set up a pass into turn 7, more so than it was 1 year ago.
Yeah, I think particularly for the GT3 cars that we'll see in action here in a little bit, but where they have a lot more downforce, so pretty much flat out for these TC, XTC, and TCA machines coming through that sector.
Talking to the front-wheel drive guys, they're pretty happy about the change in layout. That long sweeping loop, especially the right-hander that leads onto Holman Boulevard that was run a year ago, that puts a lot of strain on the front tires of these cars, which are, of course, accelerating and turning in the front-wheel drive cars. There are others, like the Subaru within the TCA class, that are rear-wheel drive, and they felt like that layout was more favorable to the rear-wheel drive cars in previous years.
Yeah, and I think there's a real art to how much of the curbing you use around this circuit in terms of just kind of grabbing and hugging through some of these apexes. And it's a very technical circuit. You come through that last sector there, you really have one corner leading on to the next very, very quickly. You got to compromise a little bit and think about the overall efficiency of the lap. Strymer here's a nice little battle.
Is Steve Strymer out of Spokane, Washington. He's picked up a couple of spots. Olivia Askew in the mix, dropped 2 on that last lap. She had passed Brett Scroggin on the previous lap. These three are locked together. Strymer side by side there with Askew coming into the braking zone. And that, I believe, is Garrett right there behind them. Is that right?
Jacob Rude right there.
Excuse me, that's right.
It's Jacob Rude there, who's obviously struggling with a damaged race car because he came out right behind Colin Garrett and has lost quite a bit of ground now in terms of the position around the circuit. Here's Ricker.
Yep.
Down in the brake zone. Little flick action to get it turned in there.
Just ahead of the Mini, and it sounds like Amanda has more.
Well, I stopped by over to the Mini team to get an update on Bruce Marine, who is out here racing here this week, and the team's been very happy with how quickly he's come up to speed in this car. Go back to practices, he was showing top 3 in pace, so very excited for Bruce here this weekend. But I did talk to the team. You know, Louis Pericarpi is normally on pit lane watching his son race. He's out here racing his weekend, but I asked them, Ryan, if they had any advice, since, you know, Louis watches his son and now you're watching your dad, and they said, well, Louis just tries to stay away from it. So, Ryan, how are you handling this with your dad on track today?
Yeah, that was my thought, too. Let's just not put him on the screen and all will be well. But it doesn't sound like the truck is too willing to go along with that plan. But, yeah, he's had a good time, that's for sure, and certainly enjoying this opportunity to get to race here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, running 7th at the moment. But all focus here on Colin Garrett with less than 5 minutes to go. Calvin, do you have a sense for what the points would look like if things stay as they are?
Well, I think it's going to be underneath 10 points. It really depends on, first of all, Jacob Root getting to the 70% mark, and then he should be classified, I think, in 8th. So we'll have to work that one out. It'd be 4 points there. So it'd be a 21-point swing, I believe. So it'd cut it down to about 9 points. We'll try and dig deeper into that as we get further into this race. But problems here for the 98 machine. That's Tyner is off the circuit, so he was having a great run. That's out of a podium position.
Yeah, he was in that duel with Christian Pericarpi that we were talking about a few moments ago. Pericarpi did get by, and now Tyner has pulled off, and that's a real shame. He had a strong showing at Sebring, and it was looking like it was carrying over here to Indianapolis as well. And something has gone amiss here with 3.5 minutes to go. Hopefully he's found a safe spot, and we can get the final 3.5 minutes of the race in under green. Carter Fartuck here continues to run second, started from pole. It was an auspicious beginning to the day for Carter, but Gresham Wagner didn't take long. He ran him down, and since then he's been able to pull out an advantage.
Still 3 minutes to go, but if Gresham Wagner brings this home, I mean, Carter Fartuck, even if he wins here tomorrow, would not guarantee him the title because he would lose on a tie break. It looks like they're going to leave that car off to the side there and not even go local yellow. Don't see any yellow flags anyway. It'd be the corners preceding where that car sits right now.
Kevin Bohm en route to yet another win in what has been a dominant championship season. It took him about half the year last year to adjust to this TC car coming up out of TCA. But once he figured it out, he went on a tear and really challenged Eric Powell for the championship 1 year ago, came up a little bit short. This year it took no time. He hit the ground running and has not looked back. It's been a tremendous season and a deserving champion without question.
Yeah, he works really, really hard at it. Kind of ticks all of the boxes in terms of his driving ability, his engineering prowess, and his passion for the sport. He's looking for win number 9, which is appropriate with his car number, and if he should sweep the weekend, well, it would be the perfect 10 in more ways than one.
Has yet to finish off the podium this season in this very competitive TC class. Worst finish is a 3rd in the 2nd race at NOLA Motorsports Park in New Orleans, the 4th race of the season. Since then, it's been all wins and 2nd place finishes, more often than not wins. Swept the weekend at Sebring, looking to make it 3 straight and 9, as you mentioned, overall this year for Kevin Bohm. 95 seconds left. This should be the white flag waiting, and there it is for Colin Garrett, looking to make a huge dent in the championship deficit he faced coming into the weekend.
Yeah, and he's got a car chief who's a recent West Virginia University engineering graduate, Gabe Otto's on board. He's now full-time at the Rooster Hall, so certainly great chemistry there and getting the results late in this season, and maybe a championship potentially here on Sunday as well.
Wagner in traffic, so is Fartuck. Could this perhaps provide a chance for some late race drama in this ultra-tight TCA field? So far, the traffic seems to have broken the way of Gresham Wagner, who's coming around for the final time this race through turns 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, half a lap to go to grab that big 7-point lead heading into Championship Sunday. Nice recovery drive. He looked like he was buried in the pack there for a while. Then we had the reset with the full course yellow. Gave him a chance to get back into his rhythm, and he's delivered. Great day for TCL television to come on board, right?
Absolutely. That team as a whole, Devin Anderson's misfortune notwithstanding, but Tech Sports having a strong day. Xiao Yi-Che, who's under the weather this weekend, runs 4th, and I think that would be a career best result for him should it hold up. Looks like his previous best was 5th in race 2 at Sebring, so a good day for him. A great day, though, for Colin Garrett, coming up onto the front straightaway for the final time. The yard of bricks and the checkered flag awaiting. Colin Garrett picks up the win. He's back in the championship hunt. Lucas Catania back on the podium once again. Garrett Adams a strong run to 3rd. Brett Scroggins, Steve Strymer, Olivia Askew still fighting it out further back in TCX. Here's the TCA win, and the points lead with it. It goes to Gresham Wagner and Tech Sport. Meanwhile, Kevin Bohm appears set to take yet another win, his 9th on the season in the TC class. He comes home across the line for the Skip Barber Racing School team with another win ahead of Jeff Rika and Matt Ibrahim.
I believe that Jacob Rude will score points, and Walsh basically is invisible in the points here by making his debut late in the season, so that should mean a 21-point swing, which makes it a 9-point lead for tomorrow. So the good news is for Jacob Rude is that means he can finish second. So even if Colin Garrett goes out and wins tomorrow, Jacob Rude finishing right behind him would be okay.
The mission is pretty clear. Just run right on the rear wing of Garrett, and nothing bad can happen as far as the championship goes for Jacob Rude. The one other thing to keep in mind, let's look at this now. The grid for tomorrow is set by fastest lap for race 1. Garrett's best lap was a 36.5. And now we need to scroll down a ways to see what Rude was able to muster in his repair car. It looks like a 37.2.
He's going to be buried. Scroggins going to be on the pole. He has fastest lap of the day at 136.10. And Garrett's going to be back a little wise. There's Adams, Catania are quicker than him, so he'll probably be back row 2, row 3. So he's got his work cut out as well to control this.
Yeah, he needs to get to the front. Exactly, to put himself in that position. There's not enough of a gap between the positions, effectively, as you get further beyond second and third down in the points table. But he won't worry about that until tomorrow. For now, he did exactly what he needed to do. Started a little further back in the pack, but avoided the chaos early on, drove through the field, took the win, and with it has just knifed into his deficit and has a real shot at a championship. Not sure we really felt like that's what was brewing just a couple of weeks ago, even going into Sebring.
Look at Catania, another runner-up finish. That's 6 on the year now. And he was going for the lead. He had to think, maybe I could break through today. Got that little touch from Walsh, was enough to turn him around.
And for Garrett Adams, second podium of the season. Really good run for him.
Think about that. Maybe that's why Walsh was coming down pit lane. Was there a penalty called? I'm not sure if we had any avoidable contact penalty called on that.
That is an interesting point. Not sure about that. If we look a little bit further down the order again, Bohm, Rika, Ibrahim, the podium in the TC class, and then in TCA, Gresham Wagner, what a great drive to get to the front around Carter Fartuk, who does still come home second. It's a 7-point difference, but the tiebreaker to Wagner going into the season finale tomorrow. Christian Pericarpi, another podium. That should help him get up to the 4th spot in points. Xiao Yiche and Colin Harrison, nice run to 5th today to complete the top 5 in TCA. CrowdStrike fastest lap, as Calvin mentioned, to Brett Scroggin, who will be on the overall pole tomorrow. That's a big deal for Brett Scroggin, who has gotten stronger and stronger as the year has progressed.
Yeah, really nice little team, and as we can see, the results are starting to come through.
And there you see it. Victory circle at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where every racing driver wants to be at some point in their career. Let's hear from our winners with Amanda.
And the winner's hat is going on Colin Garrett. And Colin, you keep showing up and doing your job. This championship is going to come down to the last race of the season. Why is it within your grasp now?
Man, these guys from Rooster Hall Racing, they've been bringing good cars every week. And I told myself after Road America how horribly that weekend went, that we're going to win the rest of them. I don't know where Jacob finished or how we are in points right now, but if we can bring home the checker on Sunday, you know, that's gonna kind of complete the season for me. You know, we've had a few ups and downs throughout the season that's kind of hindered our title grasp, but you know, it's just going to come down to wins at the end of it, I think. And you know, if we can win 7 races for the year, that would be cool. So. Yeah.
South Boston, Virginia native Colin Garrett making the transition to sports car racing, touring car racing here this year. Had a great drive to get himself in this position where the championship is within his grasp. Needs a little luck, needs to execute tomorrow, but he's shown the pace in the racecraft to get it done. This was the sprint to the finish in TCX. Lucas Catania by just 0.2 of a second over a hard-charging Garrett Adams. Those two had a nice duel throughout the course of that 40-minute race. Back down to Amanda. She's with Gresham Wagner.
Well, another championship that'll come down to tomorrow. It came in tied between him and Carter Fartuck, but Grisham Wagner has now taken the lead over Carter. I want to go back to that overtake. You knew you had to get in front of Carter to maintain the lead in this championship. How did you plot it out for yourself?
To be honest, for the first challenge was just getting there. We were both pretty quick there. I had to come from a bit back after the restart, and he knows the situation as much as I do. He was defending quite well, if I might add. Just hard racing. So I knew I was going to have to probably put it around the outside. He's got a bit more torque off the corners. I've got better braking. So, it balances out in a way where I knew I had to pretty much get it done the way I did. And, it was a clean, hard race with Carter there for a couple laps. And I guess we'll see what happens tomorrow. I expect it again.
It's been a great battle all year long between a number of drivers. There were 4 in the hunt going into Sebring, down to 2 here this weekend. This is how he made the move, Calvin, and it was a power move around the outside.
It was. He just able to take it in there, probably a car length and a half deeper than the Honda was on the inside, and admittedly not where the rubber is by protecting there. So that inhibits the braking performance of the car that's defending, and he was through and away. But a tight race, going to be a tight championship come Sunday.
No drama here in TC. We already know Kevin Boehm is the champion. He picks up win number 9 of the season, Amanda.
And it is 9 wins for number 9. And Kevin, you talk about the dominance of your season, but there is just something special about winning at Indy. Talk to us about it.
I've been really fortunate to win every time that I've been here for the last 3 years, and it doesn't get any. It's incredible every single time, and. Geez, what a year. I have no words.
Great performance as ever from Kevin Boehm, who has a chance to go for a 10th win. Former SCCA Runoffs National Champion 3 times. TCA champion 2 years ago, now the TC champion in 2022. This was the start to the race. The TCX field filing through turn number 1. They made it through lap 1 all right. It was lap 2 where the drama broke out, but we'll get to that in a moment. For now, this is the start for the TC class cars filing their way to turn 1 for the first time.
Yeah, Kevin Boehm from the pole just got the hammer down. Nice job there for the Mini. Jumps up in a second. And here's the TCA battle, which was intense all day long.
Street fight as ever in TCA. Here's the drama I alluded to. A little bit of contact there, and this had huge implications because the championship leader, Jacob Rude, picked up damage, finished well down the order, and with Garrett winning, that has changed this championship in short order. Big, bold move there. Garrett Adams up the inside of Walsh to pick up another spot.
Yeah, that was awesome stuff. Great battle there, and this was the move by Grisham Wagner around the outside. He now grabs that championship lead heading into Sunday, and he's got the tiebreaker as well. He's in great shape, but he still needs a solid day.
Still has to perform tomorrow. It was Colin Garrett winning overall for the Rooster Hall Racing team and putting himself right back in the TCX championship hunt. Grisham Wagner, crucial win for him and for Tech Sport, coming to the line to win in TCA. And as mentioned, Kevin Boehm, a dominant win once more in the TC class. And Cal, these guys have a day off tomorrow. They can come out to the track and enjoy the 8-hour.
Yeah, it's going to be special. And up next is qualifying for that 8-hour race. So lots to play for. Pole shootout later in the day. It's going to be exciting here. Weather conditions are absolutely perfect. Relatively cool, mild day, but as you can see, the sweepers are out there getting the track in prime shape for this qualifying battle about to get going here in about 10 minutes.
Fun race, and it sets up a dramatic finale on Sunday for TC America, powered by the Skip Barber Racing School. Still a full day of activity still to come at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So long for now.